Welcome to Season 2 of the Stars of Franchising podcast. I am Kylie McCarthy, and we're thrilled to have Ab and Vini here to kick off the season.
Thank you, Kylie.
Of course, with an inspiring guest, Somia, who is the new CEO of Edible Brands. And this is just fitting because it's Women's History Month. So let's chat a little bit about your conversation with Somia. So first of all, she's an amazing woman in this industry. And what are some of the aspects of Somia's journey that you find most inspiring as you guys talk to her?
Well, it's great to be here. Thank you, Kylie. Babson has a connection to Somia. She's a graduate and alum, and one of our best examples of a woman leader. One of the things that I recall and jumped out to me was just her journey, right? I think she, coming out of Babson, did something outside of the company, her family business, so to speak, and worked in so many different roles. And her leadership on the technology front, really to take the brand to the next level, really jumped out at me. And I think she and her father worked on the timing together. A lot of times with succession, it's not done that way. So that struck me.
And I think also one thing to mention is the smart move to maybe finishing from Babson to go back to a family business like that. I guess the plan was, okay, I'm going to earn my credibility outside.
Yes.
I'm going to go outside, do something here, and then I'm coming in as someone who knows how to do something.
Right.
I'm not coming in because I'm mommy's, I'm daddy's daughter.
Yes.
And that, I think that was a smart move
for sure.
For her to do that.
For sure.
I love that. Kind of prove yourself,
Voila.
not just to your dad that you can take over the company, but also to yourself,
To
that
yourself.
you're not just earning this role due to family lineage. So
Exactly.
I love that.
Exactly.
And so how do you think her transition from her dad as the CEO to now her has impacted the company, and what have you guys seen and through the conversation and through the company's growth?
Oh, great question. And I was just down in Atlanta, and I had lunch with Tariq, and it hasn't been long. I think it's been a few months, and I think from what he described, they came to that decision together, right? And he was around and involved, as he stated, and then is moving away a little bit farther, now to a chairman role and kind of letting her lead on her own and not be there, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes people default to what they're used to. So I think I'm excited from what I've seen, what we're seeing, and they're looking to do, and a lot of that was in motion already. It's her execution, her leadership, and then putting her stamp on it.
And I think also, given the generational difference, I'm sure Edible Brands are looking forward to connecting with the new generation. And so it was really also perfect that Somia is coming in at the right time, because one thing is to engage a particular generation the way you do it, now that with social media and everything. Somia is a digital native, right?
Yes,
so
for sure.
And she understands this audience so well, and so be able to say, okay, how are we going to engage this new audience, our target audience? How do they think? How do they want to be talked to?
Right.
What type of channels can we use to reach them? So
that's a great point, Vinny, because I recall, and she talks about younger people thinking that edible is for my grandmother once a year, right?
Yeah.
And now they're doing a rebranding, and they're making some of these changes. And I think it's what you said, Vinny, her role in technology. She tells the story, Kylie, that early on they would differ. When asked what the company was, he would say, we're a fruit delivery. And she said, no, Dad, we're a gifting company with technology to help it happen. So.
And I think that I mentioned to you both prior, I worked at Edible for a little bit. My friend her dad is a franchise owner, and their busy season is when they needed me. But I think it would be great to see Edible Arrangements, Edible Brands kind of branch outside of that and make it a year-round gift-giving thing.
Yeah.
So with that, I think, what advice do you have for Somia as she moves forward as a woman in this industry? You guys both have experience leading, and I think obviously her being a woman in this space might obviously face a little bit of challenges. So what would you give for some advice in terms of leading?
I think for me, it's going to just let Sonia be herself, first and foremost.
Yes.
Because everyone is unique. You come with different endowment. It's not about Sonia being like the dad or to rewrite the history of the dad.
Just
this is Sonia's history.
I love that.
And then going out there and then showcasing, putting into practice her knowledge, her insights, and then really being herself all the way, all through.
Yeah, I think you're right, Vinny. And we talk a lot, and people talk a lot about culture, right? I think for her, it's building on the culture they have and putting her stamp on it, so to speak.
Exactly.
Also, I don't know if it came up in our conversation with her, but I do know it's come up with so many female leaders, women leaders in franchising and beyond, how important mentorship is and sponsorship, right? And I know she's connected with another great, wonderful Babson alum, Kate Jaspin, who's Chief Financial Officer of Aspire brand, another Atlanta brand. And I think that type of collaboration between other leaders, women included, can go a long way. But we need her advice. We're going to keep track on the growth, and we're really excited. And we're excited for the episode.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, thank you guys so much for giving us a little bit of insight, and I think I'm ready to hear from Somia. What about you guys?
Let's go.
Let's go. Let's do it.
Well, welcome to season 2 of the Stars of Franchising podcast. I'm Ab Igerman. I couldn't be happier to have Somia Farid Silber join us today. Back home on campus. Welcome, Somia.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
We're so happy for you, and the timing of this is incredible because of the recent announcement. First of all, congratulations on your appointment to CEO of Edible Brands. What an exciting development.
Thank you.
Tell us what's going on and how that feels for you.
Yeah, no, it feels great. It's a really exciting time for us. My dad he's been CEO for 25 plus years. And I think it's really special for us to be able to kick off this transition right at our 25th anniversary. So really excited about what's ahead for the brand and starting to introduce Edible to the next generation of gifters, as we like to say in our office.
Well, love it. And since we're back home at Babson, and you're a proud Babson alum, and we're so thrilled for you, can you talk a little bit about your time at Babson and how it played a part in your experiences today and in your progression in your career?
Yeah, I'd say probably one of the best parts about the Babson experience started my first year with FME. So it's such a great opportunity to really get immersed into the business experience and the entrepreneurial experience and just get thrown into it. So that was really fun. And I feel like, there's a lot of learning that happened at a very early stage in my time at Babson that I've been able to carry forward. And I think just the problem-solving nature of the courses and how the faculty teaches is really helpful. Just the case studies that we were able to do, I think it allowed me to have a problem-solving mindset and solution-oriented mindset since day one, which I've carried forward with me and I now carry forward with my team. So if someone's walking into my office with a problem, I always ask them to start with what the solution is or what their recommendations are, and then let's work our way back. Let's just get straight to the point, and then we can figure out the hows and all of the logistics. So I definitely give Babson credit for that entrepreneurial leadership and spirit and solution-oriented mindset.
You're right. That mindset starts very early here. And for our audience, FME is our Foundations in Management and Entrepreneurship that's required of all first years, right? Mm-hmm. So maybe just a little on that. I know when I talk to alums, they remember what their product was, but essentially, right, you're given $10,000 as a team.
Yeah, I think it was less than that back then. All right. 10, 15, 14 years ago now. Yeah, we actually sold, there were these little like handheld mini massagers that you could like plug into your USB in your laptop to charge. Yeah, it was a fun little product. There were a lot of unique things that the groups were selling. But I think that's the item, right? It's the tchotchke. It's really more about the experience that you get being a part of the program and actually learning how to sell and market, learning, finance 101, even team management, right? So you had leadership teams, you had your classmates or your employees. So it does create a little bit of an interesting dynamic, but it was a fun experience.
All great stuff. And part of the Babson DNA, which I've always loved. Well, before we get to leadership, mm-hmm. which is so vital in your role now and your pathway, can you talk a little bit about your experience rejoining, so to speak, mm-hmm. Edible and what that pathway's been like and what you found successful for you on that way?
Yeah. So I, after I graduated from Babson, I did a brief stint in advertising. I was was at a media agency in Boston, then joined the family business in summer of 2016. I actually started out more back office role. I was a product owner on all of our franchise operations applications. So these are the tools that our franchisees use on a daily basis to manage their business. So got to work on that. And I remember wanting to start in marketing, and my dad told me, no, we're going to start you in tech.
Interesting.
Tech is the foundation of the business. All of our technology, for the most part, is proprietary. We've built most of it. So it's really important to understand how all of that works and integrates into the rest of the business. And I'm actually really glad I started there because I have a very deep appreciation for the tech that we have built. But so did that for a little bit. I ran our Canada business unit as director of Canada for about a year. That was my brief stint in operations. Really great learning experience working directly with franchisees, visiting the market, and supporting them. And it was unique because there's even though they're so close to the U.S., there's different culture, language elements that you have to think about. So I learned a lot about having stores in a different market. So did that for a bit and then moved back into tech when we were relocating our headquarters to Atlanta and built out the tech team in Atlanta, which was really fun. Only 10% of our team moved with us at the time. So we did have to start from scratch. And bring in a lot of fresh faces to the team. And so that was my first role in Atlanta, and then went into e-commerce and ran the e-commerce business unit, which is currently the largest division of our business in terms of revenue. And that was the last role I had before I became president in 2023.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. I don't know that a lot of people realize the tech backbone of the company, how innovative you are. I think it's been so fun to watch that development. On the leadership and the move, can you talk, and culture we'll get to, but can you talk a little bit about what drove the move to the Atlanta for the company and maybe some of those challenges?
Yeah.
And then we'll get into culture after that.
So going back to tech, one of our tech companies was already based out of Atlanta beginning 2014. So we already had presence there, it made the move a little easier since we already had some team members there. Plus, great transportation hub. Really, as you know, we all know, Atlanta is one of the busiest airports in the country. I love it. I think it's one of the most efficient airports. But from a transportation standpoint, it's been great for franchisees coming to town and our remote field team. A lot of really great franchise talent. There's many large franchise organizations that are headquartered in Atlanta or have a large presence there. And then tech talent too. So it's really the tech, the franchise, the transportation, a little bit of everything. And it's turned out to be pretty good for us.
That's great. Especially, it takes boldness to do that, right? A company that was born in Connecticut and had its roots there to be able to make a move like that. Now, given what you said, Somia, about the new blood, so to speak, and the new team members that came in, how did you foster and create a culture at Elderable that you wanted, and what is your vision for the company going forward in your new role as CEO?
I think the most important thing is our mission that we've held on to since day one. And my dad talks about it a lot. It's, our mission is to wow you, right? Everything starts and ends with wow. When we're hiring people, when we're creating new products, when we're interviewing prospective franchisees, what we say internally is you should always say wow first. If you're not saying wow, if you're trying to figure out a response or you're unsure, it means we haven't hit the mark just yet, right? So we've been able to carry that forward with the team. And it's always really cool when you are doing, let's say, our innovation team's putting on a show and they're showing us new products. And, you hear the audible wow or whoa come out and you're onto something there. So carrying that mission forward has been really important. And then, our purpose, we've always said our purpose is to celebrate what's good in life and celebrate the moments that matter. In the end, we sell fruit, we sell food. Food is very meaningful. It's a great gifting solution, and it's a global gifting solution. Anyone and everyone can relate to food. So I think once you kind of dig in and look at what the heart of the brand is all about, it makes it easy to make sure that the team's bought in and understands what we're trying to do. It's really not that serious. But and I think that allows us to have a lot of fun with it.
And I loved it. I noticed on the announcement for your role as CEO, of course, there was an edible arrangement right there, which I thought in the picture felt celebratory to me and authentic. So I love how you define that and use that to guide the company. You define leadership. How do you define leadership, and what are your goals for the style that you want to continue to build on from president to the CEO role? Or not that it needs to change, but what's your guiding force around your leadership style for your team and as you scale the company?
I think the most important piece is making sure that we have the right leaders in place for the organization and for the growth trajectory that we're on. So surrounding myself with the right leaders who are, where we're all on the same page. I think for me, leadership is making sure that there is consistency in the messaging and the goals and the strategy, and ensuring that everyone's aligned on what is our end goal, what are we trying to achieve, why are we all here, right? What are we driving to? If we all have that, then it makes the day-to-day a lot easier, even when you're in a challenging climate, and even if you're dealing with difficult decisions and difficult times, because everyone's rallying around this end goal. So I think that's been really great from a team perspective of making sure we have that buy-in, and that's really important to me, that I'm surrounded by the right team and that the leadership has the same cadence with their teams that I have with them. And look, transparency, right? I think it's really important to be transparent with employees, franchisees on what's going on and what we're doing to improve, because there's always room for improvement for everyone. I always tell the team if we didn't hit the mark, or if we missed something, or if there's something we're trying to launch with our franchisees or with the consumers, and if we're not getting what we were expecting, what should we be doing differently, right? It's taking a look internally first and saying, do we need to change how we're communicating? Do we need to change the messaging? It always starts from within. So instead of blaming on the outside, I always say it's my fault, right? I think I've learned that from my dad, of raising my hand and saying, hey, I'm sorry. I may have messed this one up, and just owning it, right? And then learning from it and moving on. So just this idea of failing fast is really important to create a culture where people are constantly innovating and not afraid to try new things. They know that they'll be able to bounce back and figure out what's next.
Well, I love that strategy or that approach, because how has it been, challenging and making innovation in a company that's been rooted in its brand in a certain way? Has that been difficult to do given the franchisee structure? Talk a little about balancing the franchise network and franchisees with where you're trying to take the brand and innovate.
That's a great question. Look, I think everything always starts and ends with both the franchisee and the customer in mind, right? So our innovation team, they do a really fantastic job of identifying trends, new flavor profiles, new products. And then there are a lot of times where we find something new and something that's trendy that we think would be a great fit, but it doesn't work for franchises from a profitability point of view, right? So we say, hey, you know what? Now is not the time. So when we're looking at new products, we're always taking the approach of, is this something that's going to be profitable for our franchisees? Does it make sense for them to be selling this offering? How does it fit in with the rest of the category and offering that we have? And we've actually seen really great success in our new product lines, like the cookies and the cheesecakes. A lot of people still don't know that we have these new products. Most of the growth we've seen has been organic, which is really great. So we're hoping to scale pretty quickly in the next couple of years. But our franchisees have found them to be more efficient as well, because the arrangements are pretty labor intensive, right? So this allows them to create some balance in terms of the labor needed to build these products, but it also helps draw in a new customer, right? So we saw when we launched the baked goods and the edible bake shop line, we were able to bring in more Gen Z customers, so more traffic to our website and more customers, Gen Z customers, with this new offering that was at a really attractive price point, under $50. So it's little things like that. It's really more helping them understand the why, right? Yes, we're launching lower price point products, but here's the why. Here's what we're hoping to get out of it. It's absolutely necessary to make sure that communication track is there with them. And sometimes you will have a product that just totally knocks it out of the park, and then occasionally we have one that we rolled out earlier this year that just didn't have the results that we were expecting, and it happens, right? So we know for every 5 you'll get one that's going to do stellar, one that's going to do not so great, and everything else will kind of fall in between.
Right. And I think the franchisees see that, as long as they know, and it's been consistent, I know, with your father and you and your approach with the company is in your words, I think in his or either one, which is making franchisees millionaires and successful,
Yeah.
right? And that's
Yep.
top of mind. So I think they can handle, I would say, probably a few misses, but because they're getting value, which is really, really important. Well, can you talk a little bit about, you mentioned it, the Edible 2.0 or the next generation of
Yeah.
what you all are
Yeah.
doing and where you're steering the company and what your aspirations as CEO are around that next generation?
Yeah, we're looking at, so next gen, it's not just one business unit, it's really all encompassing across Edible. So it's about our e-commerce, edible.com. How are we introducing more personalization to the e-commerce experience, leveraging AI tools that are available to us? How are we improving our next gen retail destinations? So, our stores, we're looking at bringing in a new store concept that is very retail forward, highly personalized experiences for our guests. And it's really more of a cafe retail feel instead of just arrangements, right? So we want someone to be able to come in, maybe have a cup of coffee, grab some chocolate chip strawberries, maybe take home some flowers, and really have a one-stop shop for all of their gifting needs and grab some treats along the way. So you'll start to see some next-gen stores pop up as early as Q1 of next year, which we're really excited
That's
about.
really exciting.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, on leadership too, as a woman leading a major company and having the success you've had, can you talk a little bit about some of the challenges and rewards challenges of being a woman in a leadership role, and maybe any advice you have for aspiring, female leadership executives?
I think the challenges are all probably driven by me.
Yeah. Okay.
Just imposter syndrome is real for women and women in leadership. I know it's very real for me. And sometimes, you have that surreal moment of, am I really doing this, or am I truly qualified for this, right? But then I always prove myself wrong in a sense, right? When I'm able to deliver and excel. So, which, when I have those moments of something goes really well or I'm exceeding my expectations, I realize, what I am doing the right thing and I'm in the right seat, right? So a lot of it's just more personal training that has to happen of, yes, I deserve this. Yes, I can do it.
Sure.
Right. And then I think it's also just having the right support system. So I've got an incredibly supportive dad, right, which is super important. An incredibly supportive husband as well. I've got a really good family network that's able to help me as, my career excels and grows, accelerates very quickly too. But yeah, I think a lot of it's just, knowing that no one's stopping you.
Yeah.
The only person stopping me is myself.
I love it. And you talk about the support network. Had a very interesting conversation yesterday on mentorship and sponsorship, and you reference your father and growing up in the business and how you had that support. Can you talk a little bit about how important that is for aspiring executives of all types, and advice you have for developing those relationships to build yourself a support system?
Yeah, I think within the family business, my dad's he was CEO for 25 years, and Edible's been around since I was 6 years old. So
Okay.
I was actually we recently did a piece with a local organization in Atlanta, and they were asking me, when was the first time you really knew what Edible was? And I told them, I said, since day one. Like, I've always known what it is. My earliest memories are in the back of the Edible store. I used to go there every single day as a kid. I was there every single weekend. So, for me, I think when I say my dad is an important mentor, I've heard him engage with franchisees. I've heard him engage with customers, and all of the good that comes with being a business owner and operator. So I feel like I've been able to soak a lot in from those early days that I've carried forward. And then, finding mentors that are outside of the Edible network is important too, right? Especially for me being a family business operator where my experience isn't going to come from going to a different brand or a different company, right? So for me, I know it's important that I leverage the network that is around me and find external mentors that I can bounce ideas off of, get feedback on, share, very openly share my feelings or, just how things are going. A YPO has been really helpful for me in that sense. So I've been able to find those people to surround myself with, and all serve a very different purpose, right? And I think that's where it's really important. You need someone who's within your industry, right, and within the business. But then also for me, having women mentors is really important too. Yeah.
I think I love that, because there are uniquenesses about being in a family business versus
Totally.
just having a brand role, not just having a brand role at a company and seeking someone on the outside. Well, let's talk a little bit about entrepreneurship and family and transition, and maybe talk a little bit about how it's worked in this transition for you, but also maybe things going on in your franchisee network with transitioning. I know our audience has multi-unit franchisees, maybe some legacy. What kind of challenges are you seeing, and how have you guys been able to successfully structure this transition the way you have?
Yeah, probably more opportunities. One, we've been talking about it for a very long time.
Since you were 6?
Yeah, a long time. I mean, we've always sort of known this was the path forward, but even just a lot of candid, open conversations within the last year or two of when is that next step for me. It was really important to make sure that I've got the right team in place before I take on the role.
Sure.
And, I think for my dad, he's already doing a really fantastic job of giving me the space to make the decisions and really get a handle on things. And we both operate very differently, but I think we complement each other in a sense. So I like to lead with data. I've had to learn to lead with more heart over time.
Okay.
And that's a balance that I'm continuing to work on. But for us, a lot of it just came out of practice, right? So even in the last year, I've gotten very comfortable negotiating large contracts myself, meeting with franchisees directly, and he's slowly been able to take a step back. But I think what's most important, he's still there as a coach, right? So he's still available in the background as a coach and mentor, not just for me, but for the rest of the team. And same thing with our even within our franchise system, like I said, we've been around 25 years. So naturally, we're seeing a lot of transition happen within our franchise base. And we are seeing quite a few franchisees who are passing their business onto the next generation, which has been really fun to see, because these are also people, who started out as employees and managers in their parent stores, who have similar background and experience from a store perspective that I have. And we were just at our annual convention a few months ago, and I got to meet a family out of New York that's transitioning their 2 stores to their daughter. And then also got to meet another franchisee whose young, 11, 12-year-old son is already coming to convention and super integrated. So it's really nice to see it. And I think we're going to continue to figure out what kind of tools are available to our franchisees to make sure that it is as smooth of a transition as possible.
Well, that's great. And that's one of the powers and beauties of franchising, which can be so powerful that I don't know that a lot of people realize. Well, let's stay on the franchising, Ben, here, because it's been such a huge part of Edible's growth. How do you approach growing the brand going forward within the franchise model, especially with your new formats, et cetera, things you're doing? Are you excited about those opportunities for franchising?
Very, yeah. And I think what we've done is we've identified a few different opportunities that would be available for franchising. So of course we've got our system as it is today, which is very heavy delivery and fulfillment. Very proud to say we can cover 75% of the U.S. households within an hour. It's really impressive that we're able to do that with the retail footprint that we have and the delivery infrastructure we have. So we want to continue maintaining that with our existing franchisees and new franchisees as well. And then we've got our Edible Next Gen that we're launching, very retail forward, looking for A locations, very much integrated into the community. It's a different kind of edible than what you see today from a retail perspective. And then we're also looking at building out Edible Go. So think kiosk style, smaller footprint, grab and go locations. Overall, I think we're on track to, we have a roadmap of over 1,200 locations. So there's a lot of growth potential within the franchise space. And, we're looking at different types of requirements for franchisees, constantly reevaluating those. So another trend we're actually seeing is managers turning into franchisees.
Tell me about that.
So we've seen a few owners come forward and say, hey, I'd like to give my business to my manager. And, the franchisees, the current franchisee will stay on to help out in the interim, help out for a few years, but then over time, give that business to their manager, which has been really great too. So some of our most successful franchisees are former managers.
I love that.
So
That's great potential.
Such a nice succession plan. So a lot of different opportunities available. Also, in addition to the franchising, looking at spinning up some corporate stores as well. well, more from a transition perspective. So if there's a market that we feel is really strong, and there's no new franchisee to come in there, we'll go in and take over a store, either help relocate, rebuild it, and then flip it to a new owner. So we've got one in the system right now. Probably have a few more by the end of the year, but I think the corporate stores will be a really great way for us to test a lot of the new products, new systems and workflows before pushing them out to a franchisee. So really excited about that as well.
That's really smart. And you can test things in those markets with your stores. Love it. Now, technology has been a big focus for you in your prior role. Can you talk a little bit about, and you mentioned AI, about the role of technology going forward as you transition the business model, one, and then two, your other platforms like Nestalis and how that positions you and gives you a competitive advantage in the franchise model?
I'd say for me, I think, whenever we talk about automating something with the team, I always tell them, before we get to that place of full automation, we have to figure out what's that manual process. Like, what are we really trying to get to by introducing this automation? But in the end, that's the name of the game. Like, how do we automate as much of the processes as possible to help our franchisees out so that they can focus on front of house and driving sales and integrating with their communities and doing more B2B. So a lot of what our tech team is doing, both from an e-commerce perspective and retail perspective, is automating different workflows, introducing new tools and technologies to help franchisees be more efficient, and also for us to be able to measure the experience that the customers are getting, right? I think in a franchise organization, it's really important to figure out how you're going to manage and have that consistency across the board, the quality and the consistency. And, we do really well. We've got very high satisfaction with our customers, but of course, we always want to be over delivering. So that's a big priority for us, is how do we get ahead and really help the customer understand, like, here's what is being delivered, right? Here's what you're getting. And then also just creating unique personalized experiences within the experience. So for example, we recently launched, a AI generated card message. So one thing we've learned is card messages tend to be really hard for people, right? Like, what do I say? So we created a little feature on our website where it'll auto generate cards for you until you get one that you like.
Love it.
It's just a fun little project that we worked on. And I think that's, AI it's a big, broad term. You got to start small, right? And slowly work your way up. So we're looking at other things like dynamic pricing, dynamic delivery offerings. There's a variety of personalization and automation that's coming to the platform over time, all with both the end user, the customer in mind, as well as the franchisee. So for us, as the franchisor, we really have two customers.
Exactly.
We've got the franchisees and then the end users of the product. So we have to make sure that we're keeping both in mind.
Right. And as you're developing these new customer experiences, you've got to get the franchisees to buy in as well, whether that's pricing. I love it.
And a lot of that's through education, right? So I think I think there's always a room for us to communicate better, and that's something that I'm looking forward to revamping as we kick things up and as I take on this role. But that communication piece is really important, of helping them understand the why. Why are we creating this? Who's looking for it? And how is it going to impact the brand? That open line of communication is super important with franchisees.
Oh, for sure. And since Edible Brands is a part of your family legacy, how do you ensure the values of the family and what was started and the core roots, you mentioned it before, continue to become a part of the brand lasting going forward and new franchisees? Is that open communication or?
Yeah, I think it's communication. I think it's sort of just ingrained in me, right? Just growing up in the brand. But as you bring in new team members and new franchisees, for us, that continued education to people coming into the system of what is Edible, what's Edible Brands, what are we all about, what is our mission, what's our purpose, doing that look back of appreciating, how we got here and what did it take for us to get here and how do we make sure we carry that entrepreneurial spirit forward is really important. So every new hire that comes in, they do get a little bit of that, Edible history lesson.
Sure.
And even for our franchisees, And I think, that's somewhere where my dad's story really resonates with people. And so there's always ways for us to continue to integrate that into the day to day. And I think the whole wow example, right? It's so small and simple, yet so important.
So
and
powerful.
and it resonates with literally everyone. Right. So I think though it's in the end, it's about keeping it very simplistic. Right. And as long as it's simple, it's easy. It's easy for me to carry it forward.
Love it. I love it. And the wow factor, and I love the story and how you've embedded it in the business, your father and you today and ongoing, of not wanting to get one birthday wrong or one gifting experience wrong, right?
Yeah, it's a big deal, right? I mean, I still will go down into our customer care center and get on the phone with customers. It's good to just listen and hear what's going on, or I'll go sit with the team and try to understand, what are we hearing? And it really sucks when you hear that we messed up that birthday or that Valentine's Day or Mother's Day gift didn't get there in time. But I think what we realize is a lot of times there's situations that are out of our control. So we do whatever we can to make sure that we are making it right with those customers. I think the emotional currency with our brand is really strong, right? And it is an emotional gift. And people are spending a lot of dollars to shop with Edible. So that's why that experience piece is so important, and continuing to help our franchisees understand the why behind that. And not just the franchisees, but also our internal team. As long as that experience is there, hopefully it will allow us to continue to grow frequency and retention of our existing customers and increase loyalty, right?
It's funny. I love the power of the wow. And I have a personal story. We're away from our family and sent my mother and brother, both ill, her a birthday gift. And he called me and he said, "That was great. You sent that to Mom. She loved it." He goes, "I was blown away by I didn't know they did this. It was my wife picked out a variety, had a bunch of different things. I didn't, and so anyway,
cool.
It was so cool, and it really struck home. I was like, wow, we need to do this more. So I think you guys are doing a great job there, and I don't know who it is in the Ohio market, but that franchisee did a great job.
Love that.
Let's talk about education. You mentioned it, and here at Babson College, we're grateful for your father and your family's commitment to giving back and educating, empowering the next generation of leaders through the Tariq Farid Franchise Institute. So with you here back home, I'd love for you to share a little bit about that vision and your hopes and aspirations as we move forward. It's hard to believe, Somia, it's been 2.5 years, but what are you looking forward to, and what are you happy about?
I think when I was a student here, I don't think I learned much about franchising at all, right? I think I remember one business law class where we had one day on franchising. I think that's probably the limited exposure that I had to it. So it's really cool to see, you come in and President Spinelli come in with his franchise background and really make a commitment to bringing more awareness to this model and the industry, and, sharing it with students as an opportunity for them, especially with the brilliant ideas that they have. So just really excited to see this as an offering for students, especially for, we've got a lot of students who are within the Institute who come from family businesses in our next gen. So I think it's a really great learning opportunity for them. For me, I just kind of learned it all on the go. I wish I had this. I think I would have been even more ahead if I had this type of platform available to me when I was a student here. But so it's really nice that we can do it for the current gen of students. And then I think, what we're doing with the launching a certification course for people outside of Babson, that's going to be game changer, right? Because you're creating an opportunity for someone to get franchising 101 from a world-class institution like Babson. That's pretty cool, right? And so I'm super excited about that. And so sneak peek for everyone as we launch this, the first version of the course with Edible, our team started to test it out and go through it, and it has been nothing but praises for it. So, and especially for a corporate team like ours, where it's half franchising, franchise experience, half corporate experience. We've got a lot of people who don't come from the industry where they found it as very important information, and some of them have said, "Hey, I wish I was able to do this earlier when I first started," because it just teaches you everything that you need to know right out of the get-go. So not only is it going to be great for corporate teams, but also for new franchisees, and then maybe even down the road their managers.
Right.
Well, but whatever they learn, like these managers and franchisees, they can carry it forward into any franchise brand they go into, right? And I think that's where the value is.
Well, we're really, really excited for that collaboration, and what a wonderful interview and time spent with you. We're so proud of you.
Thank you.
I'm a Babson alum, one, and two, we're proud of you on so many fronts, your authentic leadership style and what you've done at the brand as president, and how you and your father and family have navigated this next phase. And we know amazing things are in store for the future, and we're excited to be partners and collaborate. So thank you for making some time
thanks so
here
much.
on campus.
This was great. Glad I could be the first episode of season 2.
And welcome home. Yes, and
Thank
we're
you.
excited for season 2, and we'll look forward to having you back here on campus.
Yeah, thanks, Ab.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Stars of Franchising.
Stars of Franchising was produced at Babson College, engineered by Travis Gray. Karen Soa is our guest coordinator, and music by Ralph Taylor.
If you like Stars of Franchising, be sure to review us wherever you get your podcasts, and spread the word and share these stories any way you can.